Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening, good people. Wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, and however we're together. Thanks for being here. I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Head. So, what's in my head? Uh, we are thankfully, 25 days away as of the date this episode drops from Election Day. If you're like me, you're over the commercials, you're over the false narratives, you're over the blatant lies, you're over the rewriting of history, the people who have punchable faces appearing on TVs all the time. I feel like I say this over and over and over and over again, but elections, our political process, Congress, even our justice system itself are just jokes. They're just jokes at this point. And trying to figure out a way to navigate what's happening right now and has been happening for at least the last 2 decades, where we've gotten away from true journalism and truth and actual people in elected office doing for the people. I feel like I say this all the time. I feel like it's, just tiresome to see this over and over again. There are people that make careers out of this, whether they're reporters, whether they're politicians, whether they're just talking heads and lawyers or whatever. There are people who make a living off of thriving and digesting this political stuff when we know there's so much corruption and so much selfishness in politics that it's no longer about you, it's no longer about me. It's about holding on to a seat or holding on to power or getting this last election or getting this donation. It's just not even about the people anymore. And I know I'm a broken record. I know. By the way, is it the record that's broken or is it the needle? Because isn't the record just recording? Never mind. I digress. But every single level of government needs term limits. Every single one. It's really the last stranglehold on power is the resistance of term limits in the Supreme Court or SCOTUS, in Congress, whether it's the House or the Senate. The fact that they won't vote themselves for term limits tells you they don't want to give up that power. As long as they can manipulate you into electing them again and again and again, then they'll never put in term limits. Why would you stop the cash cow? Right? It's ideologically ignorant to think that people who have power and money will want to limit how much power and money they can have and how long they can have it. But it's a question of better, right? We've been told over and over and over again that a better generation of politicians and people are coming forward. Right? We've heard for a while that we should believe in the future. I believe the children are our future, right? Rest in peace to Sissy Houston, by the way, who passed the last couple days. And so now Sissy Houston, Whitney Houston, and I'm blanking on her daughter's name right now, but all three now are no longer with us. And so rest in peace to them and the whole trio of those who passed. But we were told over and over and over again, the children are our future. They're going to be better than us, and we were better than our past. But I've yet to see this new crop of elected officials doing better for the people than those who did it before them. And part of the problem is the ones who did it before them are still in office. They got their canes and walkers, and they just won't relinquish power. And so if you look at Biden stepping down because he's declined, right? You look at Trump, who's not looking as sharp as he was 4 years ago or even 8 years ago. And the notion that it's just the same tired old men who just want to sit on their porcelain horse and not do for the people, but do so they can continue to sit up on their porcelain horse. At some point, there's got to be a forceful rebellion. You will either vote for term limits, and this is for the judiciary as well, so Supreme Court, vote for term limits, or we're not going to reelect you. Hold the people accountable, the morality clause, or whatever it's got to be, that their actions are for the people, not for themselves, not taking plane trips everywhere, vacations here, and accepting this bribe and accepting this gift. And we all know that Citizens United was such a horrible turning point decision in this country. It's all about money and politics now. But it has to start with step one. Something's got to change. But we're 25 days out. And regardless of who wins in November, I just can't wait for it to be over. I'm not a big commercial person anyway. I watch a lot of things on my DVR because I can fast forward through the commercials. Which, if you know me personally and what I do for a living, that's kind of contradictory for what I do for a living. But I don't want to watch commercials. When I actually take time and have time, more appropriately, to sit down and watch TV, I don't want to watch commercials. I just don't. Show me what I'm actually taking time out to watch, and that's all I care about, which is why I fast forward through commercials. But we're 25 days away, and hopefully this will all be over soon. But we know on the backside of the election, regardless who wins, there's still going to be the same tired bullshit that's been going on for 20 years. And so it's about fixing that. Legislatively, Congress, new crop, making changes. It's got to be hard and fast, blinding to really hold these people accountable and get them out of office after a certain point. At a certain point, you've been in office for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever. You don't really know this generation. You don't know the new world that we live in now, the new country we live in now. So we need people who relate and actually want to do work for the people. Somebody tell me the last time a budget was passed in Congress. There's been conservative and liberal who've had the power. And at times, both houses of Congress. Still haven't seen a budget. Since when? Go look it up. Trust me. So, next thing that's on my mind is by the time this episode airs, the state of Florida will be in the beginning stages, really, of recovering from Hurricane Milton. And our hopes are that, negative life impacts, property damage will be minimal. I hope that people are using common sense and heeding the warnings, getting out of there, because this thing looks huge. There's nothing to play with. You got to do the smart thing. If you can't get out, figure out the best situation to stay safe. Property can be replaced, even if insurance companies will take forever doing it. That stuff can be replaced. You can't. Please, please do what's smart. We have listeners and watchers from all over this country and all over the world, generally. But if you're somehow listening, watching, obviously it's after the tornado or the hurricane hit. Hope you're doing safe. Hopefully this podcast is giving you some relief from the stresses of the situation and you're able to just wind down and relax. But the climate change debate is another one of the things that I kind of wish we trust the data, trust the science, more than conspiracy theories, blatant nonsensical theories and narratives. I kind of wish we would just do this. It wasn't COVID. It kind of blew up around COVID, but this unsubstantiated distrust of facts and data and reason and hypotheses turned into theories, which science used to be a thing that was respected a long time ago, and suddenly science doesn't matter. Suddenly data and facts don't matter. It's a fact that these storms are getting bigger and stronger. It's a fact that water temperatures have increased. It's a fact that population density changes have added to the destruction amount. Guess what? If you got 50,000 homes where you used to have none, there's going to be damage if a hurricane rolls through here now versus when you had none. Population density matters as well. But we're the biggest influence to climate change. Us, we. Industrial revolution, population growth, greed, right? Corporate greed. We're the ones responsible for this and have the power to do something about it. If we all can agree to certain foundational things called facts. Until we can actually do that, we won't be able to take changes to reverse or even stop it in its tracks. At some point, we have to get serious. And not just about truly making changes to reduce our negative climate impact, but reverse that damage where possible. Now, I'm not a skies falling person. I'm not a boy cry wolf. I'm not that, yell fire in a crowded theater person unless there's an actual fire. But I do like to and prefer to use common sense. It just, we do. I do. I've lived and observed changes from storms over the course of my life, and suddenly have gotten allergies, and you know, even how animals are changing. Just open your eyes and take a look. And we can't simply just admit that there's an environment change all around us. It's been happening. And if we can't just simply do that, then best of luck to you. We have to start on a baseline of facts. Look at the data. Look at the science. Unbiased data, unbiased science. I've worked in big data for 20 years. Yes, it's possible for you to take the exact same data set and tell two completely different stories with it. It's possible. You can shape a narrative any way you want to, but you got to have the data to support it. Otherwise, it's just bullshit. But I really hope the people of Florida, I hope that this hurricane season is done showing its fangs. It's been a little aggressive. I hope that, I think hurricane season goes all the way through November, I think it is. I think it's June and November. I think that's when hurricane season is. But hopefully this is the last one. And hopefully, again, that life impacts are minimal, that or non-existent, that property damage is minimal. I mean, there's going to be property damage. You're talking 10, 15-foot surges for a place that's basically a foot below sea level. There's going to be some damage. And so, hope that people make it through this alive, as damage-free as possible, healthy, and that we start to make some changes to have some meaningful impact in not only the climate, but these storms, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we lead. Because that's important. What's in My Head is sponsored by Adapt to Adopt. Adapt to Adopt provides recreational support to adopted children and youth through recreational support groups, mentoring programs, sports and community service projects, and more. For more information, visit rebrand.ly/DHPA2A. Again, that's rebrand.ly/DHPA2A. One of the best times of the year for home, quote unquote home, air quotes if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, is approaching. Besides football, thank you for football, and playoff baseball, go Phillies, bringing folk together. This time of year kicks off what I like to call the quote unquote homey time, where either holidays or events bring family and friends together. And here's a couple of them. The one that's coming most near or soon to be is Halloween, which is a great time for family and friends, especially those with younger children, to come together. And I even argue it's even an excuse for the adults to participate in adult beverage time. Did this, believe, last year. A couple of us came together at a house not too far from where I live. My godson, his brother, some other youngins in the area got together, and they walked off and went and got candy. And then the rest of us kind of hung out, had some beers, and ate some pizza, watched some TV. And it was about a half an hour or so. They came back, and we had our moment. They had their moment, and everybody was happy that day. But it's a nice little opportunity. Now, I will say, since I moved to where I am now, not a lot of success with the Halloween thing. The one year, my Tio and I dressed up full outfit and costume. I had light color changes. I think I had music playing, like creepy music playing. Got all this candy, ready to rock and roll, and not a single child showed up. Now, not one. Zero. And so I think there's a part of me and my TO that are scarred a little bit. So I don't think we're doing anything this year with regards to Halloween. And if we get a knock at the door, maybe we'll set a bowl outside. Go, y'all, just go grab it. We ain't even dressing up for y'all no more. Y'all got to prove to us that we should do something. How about that? But if you hang out with friends, I know there's a certain thing called Friendsgiving. Maybe it's called Friendoween. I just coined the word. Friendoween. Boom. But if you do that, have a great time, get the kids together, they'll be fine no matter what they do. But you get some adults together, catch up, have a few beers or a drink or something, and some good food, and there you go. Now, as much as I complain about politics, another one that's coming up is Election Day. And sometimes you get ideological, like-minded people, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, whatever, but they come together. Sometimes they mesh for election night. Maybe it's a little election night party where they either celebrate or drown their sorrows, one or the other. But it's an opportunity for people to get together. It's a Tuesday night, right? Recent elections, you won't know any damn thing until the next day, but you can get pretty close. And it's not like the Super Bowl, right? But it is kind of exciting. You can have people come together. You can do, what is it called? Bingo, where you just have words that your whatever news coverage you're going to watch. If they say this word or that word or that word or this word, you can make it a little interesting. Especially in the world we live in today where people work from home a lot more. Not to say you can just hang out and get drunk on a Tuesday night, but you can hang out a little bit and maybe even stay up past your bedtime, and then you work from home the next day. So Election Day is one of them. Thanksgiving, obviously, duh. That's coming up in just month and a half. And so whether you have family gathering or Friendsgiving, again, that's a new term the last couple years or so. Food and football make for a great reconnecting opportunity. And especially because now on Thanksgiving, I believe there's 3 games that happen. So you got football all day long. And if you go way back to like the old sitcom TV shows where you have the guys in one room, you're just sitting there drinking beer, watching football, and then you have ladies in another room, they're having wine and catching up and, having lady conversations. And it depends on the dynamics, right? If it could be the couple of the house is cooking everything, making sure everything's good, or you can have people bring a dish. You got to be careful. You got to be careful with, observe people before they bring a dish. Like if you've never seen them cook, never tasted their food, if they go out and don't even eat right, then yeah. No, we got it covered. Thank you. No, we don't need that dish. Thank you. Appreciate it though. No, we have it covered. Yes, thank you. And then when they get there, like, oh, people bringing dishes. Sorry, miscommunication. Boom, gave you a way around it. But yeah, Friendsgiving is a way to get together, have spend some time with friends and couples and all that stuff. We're actually doing one this year. I think the weekend before Thanksgiving, maybe. I have to go look at the calendar. I live through the calendar. Where I have to go, my calendar says. And then there's December, right? Which is not exactly fall. Technically it is, because I think winter starts like December 22nd or 21st or somewhere around that time. But December being the best month for obvious reasons. It's my birthday month. But there's other stuff too. And so these are all like home. This is where I say, the October, November, December is the best home type of time of the year, right? Like you have Memorial Day kind of kicks off the summer, barbecues and all that stuff. You have Labor Day that kind of ends the summer and starts the fall and back to school and all that stuff. You have 4th of July in the middle when, people decide they want to be patriotic or just kind of get together or whatever. You have New Year's where people set all these goals and come together as friends and I love you and all that stuff. But really the fall time frame is really when you get everyone together. It feels like home because people are either coming back from school or people are, winding down and coming back in the area for the holidays, or you might see people because, they have children, so you don't see them that often, but Halloween gives you an opportunity to do that. Or you don't see them that often, so you do a Friendsgiving. You don't see them that often, they're back home, for Thanksgiving break or something like that. So look at this as a reminder to open up your calendar, unlock your phone, and reach out to your friends and family to plan something homey. That's what's in my head. So, thinking about fall, fall weather, lovey dovey, warm feelings, whether you're in a loving relationship, happily single, according to science anyway, there's no denying that there's 10 psychological facts about love. And so there's an article on peakscientific.com, 10 surprising scientific love facts. It came out on Valentine's Day in 2017. And so I'll go through these 10 surprising to some, not to others, facts really quickly. Number one, when two lovers gaze into each other's eyes, their heart rates synchronize. Now, I don't know how you prove that scientifically other than strapping people to leads and hoping that their heart rate synchronized, but I find this one a little bit far fetched. But well, I'm not the scientist behind this one. Number two, a study conducted by researchers at the University of Syracuse, shout out to Syracuse, found that falling in love has similar effects on the body as taking cocaine. Now, I've never taken cocaine, so I don't know if this to be true or not, but there is a notion out there that falling in love or the feelings of love are the same thing as feelings of stupidity or embarrassment. So some people have said that, but cocaine, I've never heard that one before. That's interesting. Number three, looking at a picture of your loved one can relieve pain. So you might want to take a picture or want to place a picture of your other half on top of that cabinet that you always stub your toe on. Now that's just an example of trying to relieve some pain, but I do kind of believe that, there's some moments in your life where you're going through things, you pop out the picture. Some people carry pictures in their wallet. I don't think people do anymore. But for me, it's my lock screen on my phone, right? That's the equivalent of a picture in the wallet. And so that can change your mood, just pulling out, looking at something that just generally is more pleasing on the eye, more pleasing on the emotions. Number four, which I actually truly believe. Number four, heartbreak is real. Studies show that intense emotional stress from breakups, divorce, or losing a loved one releases chemicals that weaken your heart. This is known as broken heart syndrome, and when it manifests as chest pains and shortness of breath, it is often misdiagnosed as a heart attack. Now, I will say, depression is real. The effects on the body from depression are real. Heartache leads to depression, breaking up, divorces, all those things. So I can definitely understand the correlation there. Number five, have you ever had butterflies in your stomach while falling for someone? This is caused by adrenaline and is the same feeling you might get when you're nervous for other reasons, such as before taking a test. So, is it butterflies? Are they really one? Or are you just kind of scared they'll disappoint you? Right? That's kind of what they're getting at there. Number six, eye contact is all well and good, but be careful. Gazing to the eyes of a stranger can make you fall in love with them. Now we know why people speak of making eyes at each other. It turns out love at first sight isn't just cliche. Now, again, this is another one. Again, I'm not a scientist, but falling in love at first sight, eye contact, kind of like the vampire, the Dracula thing. If you remember his one of his powers is looking at you and make you do what you want. Maybe that's what we're talking about. Number seven, we find people with a different type of immune system to ours more attractive. Romance isn't dead. I have no idea how to evaluate this one. I don't know if this means someone extremely healthy versus extremely unhealthy, two really healthy people. How does the immune system spawn the attractiveness? I have no idea. Number eight, danger can play a role in making people fall for each other. Research has shown that if a man meets a woman while in a dangerous situation or vice versa, they are more likely to fall in love than if they meet in a mundane setting. So a Valentine's card from my driving instructor seems likely. Now, they do talk about, not survivor's remorse or those types of things, but if you're in a catastrophic, incident or, you go to the bank and somebody sticks up the bank, you survive that together, that could be a catalyst for a budding relationship going forward because you bonded from trauma, but you've also bonded in a way that no one else can relate to except you two. So it's a very nice, launching pad for love. Number nine, it's all about chemistry. People choose partners whose chemical makeup complements their own. So someone with high levels of estrogen is likely to fall for someone with high levels of testosterone. Kind of the yin and the yang, right? Fit perfectly because you have one or the other that is higher. Interesting combination there. Last but not least, love long and prosper. Shout out to Star Trek reference there for those who don't get it. According to doctors, spending time with people who love you reduces the risk of early death by 50%. Now, does that mean that those who get married much younger, start these younger families, had long, 10, 12, 15 grandchildren, great grandchildren, do they tend to live longer? I actually think if you go back and look at history, you'll look at some of our older generations who had these very large families. Guess what? They're living to 70s, 80s, 90s. My dad had, all these brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, 13, 14 of them. They all passed away in their 90s, every single one of them. Strangely enough, from kind of like liver drinking type of things. That's another conversation. But these are all things that they say scientifically are factual when it comes to love. Now, why are we talking about love? Well, I'm welcoming back for the second time one of the few people who've appeared on Dave's Head podcast for more than once, Andre Paradis. A little bit about him. He is a relationship coach, NLP coach, educator of effective communication strategies, workshop leader, public speaker. His journey leads him from a former professional dancer to a relationship coach who's worked his way out of a difficult childhood. And we talked about some of that the first time he was here. He endeavors, and I love this, he endeavors to help change people's lives around the globe by equipping them with the tools to have excellent communication skills and healthy relationships. Back again, Andre, Mr. Paradis. How's it going?
Very good. Good morning. Thank you, Dave. Good to see you again.
Yes, good
On.
morning. So, for obviously, when we're recording this, it's just barely afternoon here on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, still in the morning. So, how's
Yes.
everything been since the last time you were on?
I mean, really well. I do this for a living. This is like how I pay for the mortgage and the cars. It's not a hobby, right? This is my life. I live in Los Angeles. I live in paradise. I'm in the hills. So sunshine and trees and warm weather and living the life that I was designed or that I created for myself with my family and my two kids and my wife. And so I'm truly a blessed man. And you know this with this work and helping people decode really love dynamics, men, women, men, women, women. By the way, it's all the same. This orientation is irrelevant in people who
Mm-hmm.
succeed in long term relationships. There's a dynamic, the energy between them, not. But the men and women dance is the most complicated because we're very, very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of equality and men and women are the same, and that's all the stuff that's out there is countercultural. It's this exact in love. It doesn't work. We're not the same. We're not 50-50. We're not a version of each other that we think we are. We're not that the idea that we're closer to each other than we think we are is actually part of the problem because women would expect men to act like women and men would expect women to act like men. Anyway, so decoding all this, understanding this truly at the basis, at the base level of instinct. You know, a man's
Mm-hmm.
instinct is completely different than a woman's instincts. And so, not getting that, not understanding that, and pushing against each other is really the problem that I see all the time. So, when you decode this for each other, and you kind of come sort of in the middle of an understanding what women need instinctively to be good and healthy and happy with you and want to stick around, for a man to show up and commit when nobody's teaching this, right? We're blind to it, and so anyway, so my work is helping couples kind of decode all this so they can actually learn to negotiate their wants and needs in a healthy manner, which then creates fulfilling relationships. So some of my clients, I marry them myself. I'm also an ordained minister. I did two last summer, and that's my life. I mean, that's like beat that. Like, so I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed and
Yeah.
fortunate in all levels of my life. I like I'm the guy who has everything and is doing what he loves to do for a living. So things are well.
No, that's a beautiful thing. Normally, I ask the
Yeah.
guests to tell the audience who you are, what you do, and you're about, but you just did that. So I do want to touch real quick. So you're
Yeah.
ordained minister. Um,
Yep.
what's your success rate? Because I've talked to either judges or ministers who've done weddings, hundreds, dozens, whatever, and some boast
Yep.
about I've never had any get divorced, or these are the results. How about you? What's your success rate?
So far, same thing. You know, because
Okay,
it's
knock on
interesting.
wood.
It's interesting. Was that knock on wood? I mean, the more there are, the more the odds, right, of people
Yeah.
falling off. But typically, my clients come at me not knowing and right and understanding any of this, and on the other side of the program, understanding this machine of the dynamics between men and women. It's interesting for me to be able to teach women about their own selves. Like, you know, we don't really know and understand how much we're reactive, right? Per our nervous system as men and women differently. And there's a whole instinctual part of us that's driving still that we don't realize is driving. So your instinct as a hunter gatherer is still present. You understand instinct is just a reaction to something that's coming at you that you can't help. Do you know what I mean? So if your wife says to you, "We need to talk," that rush that you get in your body, right? That adrenaline rush is a fight and flight reaction. That's caveman, right? Say the same thing to a woman. We need to talk. She'll instantly think you're trying to break up with her, and she'll just right. It's the same mechanism that if you think you're alone in the house, you come around the corner, somebody's standing there, your heart stops, and you fall on the floor because it's the bear in the woods that just snuck up on you. So these things are still driving us. We have these like knee-jerk reaction to situations, to each other, to the way people talk to us that are instinctual that we don't really understand. They're very different from men and women. So all of that, when you put that in place, so my clients will come in with not understanding, not knowing, not understanding men, not understanding women, do the work, kind of get the right. Part of the stuff that I teach, that's the biggest. Well, there's layers, but communication between men and women, but I mean in every level, right? Relationships, work, co-workers and parents and family. Men and women speak and listen completely differently. We don't even know this. So in that, right, there's a lot of disconnect and what people consider misbehaving, right? Again, it sounds ridiculous because we speak English. I look in your eyes, you hear the words that come out of my mouth, right? We're not communicating because what I say is not what she's hearing, and what she's saying is not what I'm hearing. Again, it's another layer of this. So when you kind of decode all this, and like I said, as much as it is possible, um, and when you kind of wake up to it, you can actually go and find it out in the world and confirm and confirm and confirm. So my clients on the other side, they know how to communicate, right? Respectfully, they know how to, negotiate their wants and needs because they're very different for both. Respectfully, they understand that the couples who last a lifetime, primarily their first quality about them is that they have each other's back from the get-go. Like they both want the other one to win. So it's not I'm trying to win and you're going to lose, right? This is when people fight in ridiculous ways. You get triggered and you scream and you want to like put them in their place. That's not that doesn't work. It's actually in the conflict resolution when you both are fair, you could fight fairly, you can negotiate fairly, you could disagree fairly. If you have each other's back, right? There's a safety in that for both men and women where you can actually step in and have the conversations that are difficult. And again, people think in our culture, it's very funny that is when everything goes smooth, right? If it's not fun and easy, it's the wrong person, right? If it gets complicated, it's the wrong mate. That's not true. Actually, that's ridiculous, right? When things are well, there's nothing really. There's no real polarity.
You're
Not that
not
things should
learning.
go wrong. My point. You're not learning anything, right? So it's in the conflict resolution actually that we know this that people actually get closer and closer. If we have each other's back and we have a conflict and we can sit like adults and talk about it, this is the communication I'm talking about. Every time something gets resolved, we actually get tighter. Every conflict actually brings us closer, which explains people who do it right. When they get to be 80, 90 years old, one passes, the other one is literally so blended that they follow. They don't know how to be necessarily on their own any longer. They're that merged together. It's a beautiful thing. And it's called love and connection. And you're a person. Anyway.
So I got a number of comments from the first time you appeared, and
Yeah.
obviously, as to be expected, they were on the opposite polar ends of each other. There are
Right.
those who kind of agreed with the things you said, and one comment I believe on YouTube, guy said, I don't know if people are going to like what he said, but if you actually listen to him, he's spitting facts. Basically, it was the gist of what he said. On the other side, there were those who really had questions about how you view the role of men and women, and taking the negative side of that, that you viewed men kind of in a better place than you viewed women. So if you could take a second, because I want to give you an opportunity to clarify that, but also
Yeah.
to address just historically, because I know you've been doing this for a while. Is that typically the thing that happens, that there's just a polar opposite understanding of the things that you're saying?
That happens a lot because, again, depending which side of the fence you're on, right? If you're more conservative, you don't understand everything I'm saying because that's how your brain kind of is organized and understands things and life and nature and yourself and women and relationships, right? There's a kind of like linear uh, alignment already. Now, if you think the men and women are the same, the 50-50 is the way to go, then the patriarchy is the enemy, the women are suffering. You're going to hear everything I'm saying sideways, because I'm saying exact opposite of that. Because again, and I say this over and over and over and over. This is not my opinion. This is not me saying what's right and wrong. This is all the research and data to pass, like from five masters on which shoulders I'm standing on. This is not me telling you. This is us having discovered what is more line up with nature, which is a little more traditional. If you're in the realm of relationships, you have to line up with what works better. I mean, you could do it against what's happening right now in our culture. Is everything we teach people is going against nature, to feminize men, to masculinize women in the name of equality. I get that. On paper, it sounds like, wow, yeah, that's the way to go. Except in reality, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because masculine women are not attractive to masculine men. Feminine men, women don't like them. They put them in the friend zone, right? So if you flip the script on nature, it doesn't work. It works for money and career and business. It doesn't work in the love dynamic. So even though it sounds like it should be better on paper, equalize everyone, we have a better chance. But in love, it doesn't work. You're going against nature. Women don't like feminine men, and men don't like masculine women. But in our culture right now, we're teaching this 100 miles an hour. Go girl, boss babe. Okay, but eventually, love dynamic is suffering for these ladies because they're too masculine. They don't understand why men don't find them attractive, even though they're attractive, and they seem to have everything. They're no trouble. Well, that's not what masculine men are looking for. So that's really where the things come off. So again, what I'm teaching is nature science and psychology. What works better? Men and women, men, women. Like the people who succeed all do the same thing, and they're very specific in what they bring to the relationship. There's always a yin yang. There's always a positive negative magnet. I want to say, right? The polarity is essential. This again, polarity in everything in life is the magic. Everything in nature is polarized. Everything that in every species, the masculine and the feminine, the male and the female are completely opposite, made to come together and support the system, support the family, right? Support our survival. So it's not about equality, it's about polarity. What you bring, when the masculine brings, is different than what the feminine brings, but together it's a beautiful cocktail. We take our culture, we say 50-50 is the way to go, and now there's no more polarity. Men aren't attracted to women who are masculine, and women aren't attracted to men who are feminine. So you call that the new normal. It doesn't work. It's a terrible paradigm. So there's a modern way to do this, by the way. It's not completely going back to the 50s, right?
Mhm. So that's actually a great segue to what my follow was going to be, because what you're describing is kind of a yanking on the emergency brake on the train and going back the opposite direction. Not again, not to the 50s, but a fundamental shift in what's kind of become the norm, right? What you described,
Right,
which
right.
is non-masculine men, non-feminine women. So how do you shift that back to what you would call the balance, appropriate balance, without going back to the 50s, 40s, whatever? Because that's what
Yeah,
people
no, there's a,
hear in their minds a lot.
I absolutely thank you for bringing that up. That's factual, right? My favorite thing to do is speak to like a hardcore feminist who's trying to like just shoot me down because I'm a pig who's trying to get women back barefoot and pregnant. I'm like, that is not what I'm saying, not one bit. But if you want masculine men to step up and provide, protect, cherish, give, support, lead, like this, he's expecting something. He's got a very specific idea of the person that he's going to want to do this with, right? So, what I see is men's role has not changed ever. We're expected to conquer something in the world, right? We're expected to make something of ourselves. We're expected to be relevant, right? We have to go like do something relevant in the world for us to get self-respect and also be respected by men and women in society. Like that's expected of men. So you're supposed to provide, you're supposed to protect, you're supposed to give, you're supposed to pay, you're supposed to this. Everybody still wants that. Are you with me? Our role has never, ever, ever changed through the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. We're still expected to be man and put up, put out, pay. Okay. And men have no problem with this. It's our natural instinct. Provide, protect, cherish, give, support. Except in our culture now, we teach women to not. So that's very traditional, right, of men. Men are still very traditional, even in the modern sense, right? they want families, they want legacy, they want wives, they want kids. By the way, it's still what men want, the men, not the boys. That's a different story. So these guys are pretty traditional. They know what they want. They want family and kids and wives, right? So they're looking for women who wants to be wives and mothers. But in our culture, since the '60s on, we teach women to be more like men. We teach women to not be traditional, to refuse to be mothers and children. Like my assistant is 29 years old here in Los Angeles. She wants a traditional lifestyle with 3 kids, where she can't say that out loud. They attack her. Girl, you need to talk. You're better than being some guy's slave, and motherhood will, children will ruin your life. That's the culture. Right now, if you choose to do that, if you don't want to be traditional, and if you think being a boss as a woman is going to make you happy, like, go for it. But the statistic, the work, the data, my own daily, uh, adventure with all of this, and my dealing with this daily with women is, if I like to sound the alarm. I want to say, like, go find out how that turned out for the people who made the choice that you think is better and normal, right? There's a lot of women who are 45, 35, 45, 50 plus, who, went into the world with conquering like men. And at that age now, they're single, childless, lonely, tired, and they realize money and career does not make them happy. That's not what makes them happy. But the feminine essence needs to be connected to environment. And what makes women happy is the quality of the relationships all around them. All the relationship, whether it's love relationship, family, children, if they have children, but also like co-workers, it's the quality of all the relationships around them. When those are good, and this is what makes women happy, not career, not money. Career and money, makes men feel powerful. And then again, traditionally, they want to take care of everybody so they could do it. So the balance is, if you have a male body, right, we both have masculine and feminine within us. We both have it. So that's why we could flex back and forth. So women can become masculine and men. We could flex. However, if you want to create a healthy bond with somebody, you're better off, back to nature, lining up with the essence of your body. So as a man, to lead, to provide, to protect, to make something of yourself, so you can actually take on the responsibility of a wife and family, put your arms around your kingdom that you build, is traditionally what men love and want the most. That's what they want, right? If you don't do this and you're a soft man, right, you don't want to take responsibility, you don't want to step in, you don't want to have children to pay for, you're struggling financially, like, that's what's out there. So for the ladies, the same thing. If you're a feminine body person, right, you're better off lining up with your essence as a woman, to basically being a yin to his yang, right? To be the nurturing energy, to be the supportive energy. That if you understand what a man needs to commit and to build a family, right, and you give him that, he will. This is like the triggers that makes him go, yes, her, yes, her, yes, her, yes, her. But you have to know what that is. Women don't know what makes men commit, right? They don't know. Men are very clear on this. You know what I mean? You're yes or you're no, and per what's coming at him, right? So this is where the disconnect is. When you pull women away from their feminine essence, men don't care. And again, when you pull men out of the masculine essence, women don't trust them and they don't want them. They're too weak. Oh, I could do this all day long. I'm
No.
sorry. Did I help, sir? The answer,
Yeah.
like, the balance
No.
is within us.
No. That did, but I'm gonna take a devil's advocate approach, and
Please.
I'm doing this.
Love it.
I'm bringing this up because just reading comments and hearing things since you were on last time, and so you spent a good amount of time talking about women's role in this larger problem. But I'd ask, what is a men's role in this problem, right? Just a fair and balanced. How have men not helped this dynamic that you see right now?
Well, what I see every single day when it comes to men, because I do a lot of men's work as well, and the younger ones are completely confused because they've been shamed out of being masculine. Like, masculinity is dangerous and toxic, and you can't trust men, and they're cheaters anyway, and they're liars, right? So this is what's out there all day long. So women are like fearful of men, and very quite eerie about our own very essence, right? So there are liars and cheaters, of course, but those on demand, those are the boys. And in my world, first thing I do with my clients, I break down boys, guys, and men. There's three types of men out there. They look the same. They're grown men, but they're very completely different temperament. As there's also three kinds of women on the other side. So understanding that about a third of men are the liars, the cheaters, the toxic ones. Those are the feminine ones. Those are the ones who never build their character. They have no confidence, and they think women are here to help and serve them. Those are takers. As much as men are provider and giver to women, to children, to anybody who needs help instinctively, the boys will take exact opposite. So these are the liars and the cheaters. These are the ones who hurt women. These are the ones who hurt children. They want to take your time, take your money, take your energy, take your body, take, and they don't want to provide anything. So yes, those exist, and this is what women are confronted with all the time. But if you going around thinking that all men are dangerous and toxic, this is where we have a problem. Because how are you going to let go, trust it a little bit as a woman? So men have learned to not be masculine, to not make plans, to not step in because that's toxic. So they do this. And what do women say? If you go online, like anyone online, women say, "Where are the men? Where are the men?" Well, men have been shamed out of being masculine and stepping in and like making like going after you. That's toxic. So they don't. And now women are like, wait. That's not what we're talking about. Well, this is what it's taken it to. So that's we encourage women to be masculine. Fine. We discourage men and shame them out of being masculine, and now we have again inverted nature. It doesn't work. Like I said, you could disagree with me all day long. Mm-hmm. I have proof every day.
I would say
this is what doesn't work.
Let me just ask a question about that, because I know one of the big things that we talk about as men is that we can't be vulnerable. We can't be, we can't shed tears. We can't show that the weight of the world is weighing down.
I never said
that. Not you. But that's kind of some of the things that we talked about. Not us, but as men, we'll get in our circles. We talk about these things. We got to be tough all the time. So isn't that kind of a double-edged sword where maybe shame for masculinity, but also shame for being a not vulnerable person, not giving into some of the emotions that might be attributed to women or feminine?
Well, it's but like I said, we both have masculine and feminine within us, right? We have to calibrate what that is. It's not that men have a lot of feelings. Men have some profound feelings, and there's even data to prove men are actually more sensitive than women. Women are tougher inside than men, but men are more sensitive inside. Interesting, right? Opposite of what we think is the reality, but it's fact, right? There's data on this. So if that's the case, it's not that men have no feelings, that are shallow and don't love, because it's that men are stuck in their heads, right? We're stuck in our heads. The reality of our lives is everything has to be planned out and purposeful. And so there's a survival instinct that means I have to know every step that I make has to be calculated for us to survive, for me to survive first, and then eventually, want to take on a family. So what happens though when men, because we live in our heads, right? Not necessarily in our hearts, even though we have profound feelings, you won't see that very much because we're warriors. Do you know what I mean? And it's inappropriate in the warrior lifestyle to show vulnerabilities. If I let you know what my weaknesses are, you could use that against me. So there's an instinct there to conceal my weaknesses, and men will even conceal their strength. Like the guys who are black belt in any kind of martial arts, they don't walk around with their black belts, right? They just wait for somebody to get stupid and surprise, right? So both
surprise, you're on the ground, knocked out, yeah.
Right. So for the masculine, instinctively concealing our strengths and our weaknesses is because you could use that against me. Women want men to be vulnerable because, again, when you live in your head as men do, the heart kind of like is dimmed down, right? So women want to know what are we feeling? What's going on inside? How do you feel about me? What's going on with you? Do you still like me? Right? That kind of stuff. So women want us to kind of share our insides. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a way to do this that I teach women to make it safe for him to open up because, again, men have profound feelings. But And when women say they want vulnerable, nice men who talk and share their feelings, what happened is when a guy shares his feelings, share his anxieties, share his stress, the things that he's uh, that are not working for him, the things he's struggling with in life, and then if he gets vulnerable with that, instinctively, again, not my opinion, what happens to women is they see him as weak. So the man who is your hero, who's stoic, right, and handles his stuff quietly, right, that you want him to open up to you because you want to know how you fit into his life because he's stoic and he doesn't talk as much as you want him to. So when you make a man open up and force him, I want to say, because some do, like he has to be vulnerable for her to. But the moment we do, there's a lot of stuff on that. There's a lot of stuff. The men, when they get vulnerable with their ladies, the women lose respect for them because they see him as weak. So what's the solution here? I said, as a man, take all your struggles, all your pain, all your disconnect, all the stuff that makes us. Because wave, it's not easy being a man. It is not easy. It's also not easy to be a woman. My point is that, again, there's two different machines, right? So when men struggle, which they do a lot with communication, with themselves, with what they want, what they feel, right? And where do you go to get support in that? And that's why I go men's work, man mentoring men. You bring your troubles to your brothers, who will support you in your troubles and help you get a solution. So men get vulnerable a lot. I've been doing men's work for like 2 decades now, and then men's work is men supporting men in their troubles, and those are the guys who will, right? Don't bring your troubles to your wife or girlfriend. She will lose respect for you. Bring your troubles to men who will support you, like elders, whatever, in groups. There's a lot of mentoring programs out there right now, everywhere around the planet, where men need help, get some direction and some help, some support by men. And that is the mojo. That's what's healthy. Her.
Now, so make clarification. So
Yep.
I understand going to men, talking to men. You serve. I do the same thing. I talk to my circle about things. But
Right.
the second part of that is still going to your spouse and talking through, communication wise, what's going on.
Yep.
But it's the
Yep.
talking to your brothers is more so to refine and get an understanding. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because you can show your weaknesses to your brothers, and they'll help you out of it. Right. What the masculine does, it'll say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this isn't working. This is destroying you. This is hurting you. This is making you feel weak and passive and not capable. Right. The worst thing for a man is to feel like he can't get on top of it. He's not capable of fighting his own
Mm-hmm.
battles, his own lives. Right. So that's what destroys men, feeling weak and small. So a guy can actually release that and call that out and say, and they fall apart. I see them fall apart all the time. Like they've never been able to say this out loud, that they feel powerless and weak, and right, like, and it's like I said, for men, it's a kiss of death. That's why someone commit suicide. If they can't survive, they can't make anything of themselves. After a while, they see themselves not able to get on top. They check out. That there's right. That's a horrible thing. But with your brothers, be able to like release this, call it out, fall apart, cry your pain, release your pain. What men do is we support you in revealing vulnerability. It's not going to be used against you, and then we help you make a plan out of it. It's in the it's in no it's in making a plan of, okay, so this is what's happening. This is horrible. Yes. How do you get yourself out of it? Right? We could do this. We could do this with this, and this where the support comes in, and that's what empowers men, not to reveal their pain and their vulnerability, to get some help stepping out of what is the plan out of this terrible situation, whatever it is. Right? Where again, you do this with a woman, she'll lose respect for you. That's not it. It makes us appear weak when we're not. But men need support and help. Men do this. So the way we say it is only men can help a man with his men problems. Not your girlfriend, not your wife, and certainly not your mother, which was where a lot of men makes mistakes. Just saying.
Gotcha. So I want to shift real quick. And so I've
Yes.
actually asked this question or comment, a sort of variation of this question with a couple guests over the course of a couple years. But I'm gonna lead off with just a stat real quick. So 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men experience physical violence from an intimate partner during their lifetime.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so one of the things we started to see an uptick, and I think I have a gist of which answer might be, but one of the things we started to see an uptick is more public violence against women who reject men when they approach them. And so, how does the masculine femininity issue create these types of violent situations, whether it's in public or in relationships?
So you're talking about men just getting violent on women? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and
Right. Yeah.
also on
No,
the other
that's
side of
like
that too, there's women who get violent on men as well. But the
oh,
uptick
for
we've
sure.
seen is public. A guy approaches a girl's not interested, and then violence ensues. We've seen that
Well,
uptick
okay.
a little bit.
Again, it goes right back to boys, guys, and men, the three types, right? Like I said, as a male, if you're really grounded in your masculinity, you know who you are, and you find a woman attractive, and she's like, "Thank you so much, not interested." You go, "Okay." Like, really, like, you don't want me, like, what am I gonna do with that, right? So I say hi, I try, and you reject me. Okay, I'm cool. Do you know what I mean? Guys are kind of in the middle. They take it a little bit harder. But boys, like I said, boys, you have to understand the makeup of a boy. Again, they look like men, but they're different creatures. Boys, again, are typically raised without a father. Typically, sometimes they have a father, but he's weak or he's passive. So mom was the man in the house, and he role model after daddy, who's just soft and makes no decision, and right, this doesn't lead. And so what happened is role modeling after no daddy, bad daddy, alcoholic daddy, or like a weak daddy. Turns out in the household, the system is then mom is driving the show. Dad is passive, or there's no dad, right? So mom becomes mama bear. Mama bear is masculine. She provides and protects the children. When women are in their masculine mama bear mode, energetically they can't really nurturing the kids properly. I'm just saying. It's not sexy, but that's what it is. You're mama bear. You're going to provide and protect. You're going to do a man's job, but the nurturing falls off because it's too much. It's two jobs, right? So women raise children in a feminine way when there's no father around in mama bear mode. So typically, they overprotect, over baby the sons, right? And teach their daughters to be independent and strong, like they have to be to survive the system. You see it? So boys are made out of come from families typically with no father or no good father role model, and were raised. They were overly cuddled, overly babied, overly right. Women, mothers will do this, right? They'll go far and beyond to make sure that everybody, like the woman, that everybody's safe and provided for, and right. Except this, that mechanism on steroids. If you raise a boy like you raise a girl, because it works really well on a girl to be there, to be present, to be connected, to talk about it, to right, to share your feelings, to cry with mom, like that's all appropriate for a little girl to feel safe. But when a boy is raised to be more feminine, they become emotional like women. They live through their feelings as opposed to live through their logic, right? Masculine leads with logic, feminine leads with feelings. Now, women naturally lead with their feelings. We all know this, and that's why we go, oh, here we go, right? Like, so, like the weather, her feelings will change throughout the day depending what comes at her, what she sees, what she hears, what she tastes, what she touch. Do you know what I mean? So women's feelings are like the weather. It moves. It's okay. That's the fluid feminine. Beautiful. Masculine is more logical. So men don't take things personally the same. Men are not leading their lives through their feelings, right? Men typically at the rock, right? Something, a woman gets it all in her feelings, and he stands there and goes, okay, babe, what's up? And stays logical, stays, solid for the wave to hit the rock and calm down. Do you know what I mean? For the storm to hit the mountain and calm down. This is the beautiful dance between men and women. So women want us to be their rocks so they could actually stabilize and feel safe. So when a man has no role model and he's living through his feeling, is emotionally erratic. You understand? Unstable. They're usually, and by the way, they're always financially unstable as well. Those are the boys, and those boys are emotional. Those boys are still on testosterone, so they approach women with, "I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. Don't you like me?" And women are like, "No." Put you in the friend zone. They freak out. They freak out. They get emotional, and because of testosterone, this is when they get dangerous. These are the ones who their testosterone is big and loud, right? And they explode, and they can't control their feelings. They can't control their emotions. They can't control their bodies. Those are the ones who hurt. Just saying, it's everywhere in the culture. About 30% of men are that nowadays. That's what you see.
So is it more of a question of single parent mothers raising sons and daughters, or is it just single parent households? Period, whether it's a mother or
Well,
or a
again,
father
the
who is single
statistic, the
parent.
data, yeah, the statistic and the data is exactly that. Where parents, and again, everybody's going to hate to hear this, but that's not my opinion. This is data, right? Terrible, terrible things happen to single mother homes for the boys and the girls because there's a lack of safety missing, and so all the troubles that you see, like bad in school, pregnancy before marriage, and teenagers, end up in prison for the boys, like all the terrible statistics. You look back, and I could pull the paperwork, come from like 85% of single mother household. The data on the other side is when single father household, the kids make out the same as a two parent household. The numbers don't change when the masculine takes over. The masculine will make the girls feel safe, and the masculine will be a appropriate role model for the boys. That works well in culture. A mother raising children, boys are raised like girls. The girls are raised to be masculine. So again, I'm not, this sounds terrible, because people will say, well, my mother had to survive, and my mother was a single mom, and I love my mom, and she loved us and did everything. Yes. So I'm not saying, but the statistics say the opposite. The statistics say the opposite. So of course, sometimes life happens and people die and break up. But if you consider now that in our culture, the numbers are ridiculous. If you consider that 75%, 70%, sorry, 70% now of black kids are raised in single family homes, where 50 years ago was 20%. Same in the Latino world, and the white folks, like the numbers have like went up by tenfolds over like a few decades. That is the problem. That is the problem. And the kids in jails and the girls, pregnancy and teenagers, all are stemming out from not the stability of a two-parent household. And somehow a father alone can stabilize everything. Like I said, make the girls feel safe so they can grow into their feminine, and have being good role models for the sons, so they don't end up in jail. Just saying. So it's not sexy, it's not attractive, it's not fun, but it's facts. This is all the data. It's not my opinion.
So what do you attribute that big? I mean, that's a big shift. That's a 50-point swing. But what do you
It's
attribute that
ridiculous.
more to? Is it younger parents? Because I mean, we've got a younger generation of parents over the last 20, 30 years now. We've got grandparents
Yep.
that or grandmothers and grandfathers that are in their 30s and young over,
Yep. Yep.
upper 30s. Is it, health changes? A lot of widows on both sides because of different health styles. Is it education? I mean, there's so many factors that could be and why we see so many single parent homes now.
Yep.
What
Yeah.
do you
There's a
mostly
lot of
attribute that to?
factors. There's a lot of factors, but you know, uh, cultural beliefs, right? Women can have children, and the government will support them, so they don't need no man. So if they don't like him, like the bond, the way that people got together and stuck together for survival has been dismantled. Women don't need men; they make their own money, and or the government supports them. If they have children out of wedlock, it's no big deal. Again, if you consider that, you know, single family household women, single mother's household, the girls are this crazy stuff, right? It's like psychological. The little girls who never felt safe with men or never had contact with men as enough, no father in the space, are dying for male attention. They're dying for male energy. They're dying to feel safe. They never have, not with mom, because she's not a man, right? So back to like the nature of our bodies, they're dying for it. So these girls tend to be very promiscuous very early for the need to connect to the masculine. So, and they'll do this by acting out in all kinds of ways and getting pregnant at 14 and 15. And mom says, it's good, we'll raise it, right? And so there's all of that, layers and layers and layers of a cultural like twist that is derailing everything. So if you consider that, single family household are terrible, right? So we have to go back to, what kids needs at both parents, the masculine and feminine, mom and dad. There were both parent even differently, and that's the appropriate, that's the balance again for the children. I could tell you all kinds of ways that happens, but again, if you only have one driving, and the feminine driving the masculine family system, the statistics are terrible. So what do we do
what
about
would you
this?
say if what would you say to criticism that says it seems like you're putting a lot of weight or blame on the feminine side? What would your response to that be?
I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I think, God, if you're going to go all the way, I think it started with the political system, right? When again, when you make divorce a no fault thing, right? That happened in 1986 with Donald Reagan, and he said it was the worst thing he's ever done, because there was a time where we were married in order for, um, if the woman cheated, she was not allowed alimony. She didn't take half of his life, like none of that. So there was a frame of responsibility together to hold the family together. And if you strayed outside the system, it would cost you greatly, right? So since 1985, 86, one of the, whatever, you could look it up, I forget. Um, the no fault divorce is that if a woman is simply unhappy, she could just walk away and take half the man's life. And now men are catching up that marriage is very dangerous. So societally, in our culture, it's becoming a liability for men to get married, because she could just change her mind, have a couple of kids, and take half his life. And that's happening a lot. If you consider 80% of like divorces are initiated by women, not men, because women can walk away now with I'm not happy, I want more fun, I'm bored, right? And all the reasons. So the statistics again is saying women are the ones who walk away, and the system has managed to help that, to have things come undone. So it's easier to break up than to manage the relationship long term. That destroys the kids, and that destroys families, and ultimately that destroys society. And I believe it's an agenda. It's out there on purpose. It's been pushed in every aspect of life, everywhere, and it's an agenda. It's somehow we're going to destroy this country for the greatness that it is, that it's been, by destroying the family system. I see it loud and clear. It's too wide and broad and constantly pushed out there, uh, from all angles at all times, 100%. It's not random. It's not kind of, it's just a new modern. No, it's been it's. Now I'm talking
Well,
like,
there is the notion if you go back to the speaking of the 80s, 90s, the war, quote unquote war on drugs, there is a cultural belief the underlying premise of that was to destroy the black and brown family through the use of quote unquote law and order and the war on drugs. So there are many people who will agree with you from that aspect because that literally destroyed family after family in the community. Um,
yep,
and so
yep,
when we look at that aspect of things, um, other than undoing wrongs, especially those who are convicted for really minor offenses in grand scheme of things,
yep, yep,
how do we
yep.
repair that damage? Um,
Well,
because there are a lot
man,
of men coming home from jail 40, 50 years after they went in, they have no idea
yeah, yeah.
who the family are, how to bond with them, anything like that.
Again, if you can destroy culture, society by destroying families, that's how you do it, right? Unfair.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the propaganda that I talk about, this is going to sound insane. Excuse me, like, um, what do you call it? Um, it uh, the word just left my brain. It's like the theorist, right? The what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm talking about? Like the
Conspiracy theorists.
propaganda, conspiracy theorists. Exactly. Thank you.
There you go.
So these exist because they exist, because there's something out there that's not working. The things are obvious to some very, very smart people to go, this is not right. This is not right. It's not right. So again, if we change the laws to make, if we change the divorce laws back, and again, women are going to hate to hear this, because like, going to take away their part. If you keep people bonded together, that they have to work it out as opposed to make it easier to leave, right? So we have to change the laws. We have to change the judges, the way that judges like punish perpetrators and stuff. Like all that stuff is in the system, right? So it's built in on purpose to do exactly what it's doing. It's too wide and far, and for the past few decades, for it to be a coincidence, because it's on every level of everything, from television media, you know, politics, um, the court system. Everything is stacked up against the family in the name of whatever, and we're blind to it until now. We're like, wow, look at this shit show, because it's a fucking shit show. Excuse my French, but it's not random. It didn't sort of sneak up. Human beings have been able to survive millennia in a system of yin yang, masculine and feminine, building family, coming together to survive and thrive and continue the species. And right now, over the past 50 years, really quickly, we're dismantling all this and wondering why people are struggling, unhappy, and miserable. And the kids are, the God, what's happening with the kids, the new generation, right? They, they, they're anxious or avoidant in relationship. They don't trust relationships. Again, for all that's out there, they don't even trust. Their parents made some terrible mistakes, so this is something you don't want to do. There's so much fear and anxiety, and they're sadly very twisted because they've never felt safe with their parents, who one left or both left, never claimed. Because some kids, it's like dad went to work and mom went to work, and so they were key latch kids and were raised by a daycare system. These kids don't do well. Like, nobody's claimed them, so they don't feel emotionally safe. There's a lot of data on this. Again, it's not my opinion, right? That so all these kids that are like triggered and weak and unsafe and shaky, and they need safe space, is like really don't feel safe in the world. But their parents weren't there. Their parents didn't even claim them per lifestyle, right? Everyone is at work. Nobody takes care of the kids, and again, that keeps these kids from being able to build healthy, dynamic, healthy relationships, to then build healthy family. It's a beautiful design to destroy everything. You see it? Again, conspiracy theory. I'm just saying, I see it too wide, too long, too much everywhere to be. It's not random. Human beings don't behave that way naturally. It's not. It's not normal.
Well, speaking of
Oof.
family and children,
Oof.
um, without grossing too many people out, there's a thing called the birds and the bees, which is the way that children come about from two people. But you have a
Mhm.
belief that early sex kills the building of healthy, long term, loving relationships. Can you talk about that and why
Mm.
you think early sex
Right.
and define early sex, number one? I'm assuming that's like right away early sex, but define early sex and why you think that
Yeah.
ruins the possibility for long term loving relationships.
It's not a thought. Yeah, it's not a thought. It's not my opinion. It's the data. It's a fact. It's where we research and see over and over and over. And again, part of talk about the part of that, cultural tidal wave of what's the new normal doesn't work. Everything that's traditional is stupid. Everything that's now weird and bizarre is the new normal, right? So again, just flip the script on everything, see what happens. Complete chaos. But the fact and the data is that this is a big conversation, and it's easier. It's not easy to answer quickly, but if I'm going to shorten it up, men men man's instinct is to reproduce, right? So there's I call them the human animal wants to have sex. It's just the body screaming, right? So we have a human animal, and we have what I call a human spirit, reasoning, thoughts, logic, education, right? So one's instinctual, the other one is thought through. So we do both have both. So if you let men's instinct run their lives, if you let them, if you if you have sex with men without really any frame around that, any boundaries, any we don't do this until I know where this is going. I'm not sure what your plans are, but I'm looking for marriage, right? Like these are conditions that women set for men to step up and behave differently. But now we convince women that having sex like men is cool. You go, girl, get yours. I've had clients after clients, so the girlfriend was shaming. So the natural feminine does not have sex casually. It tears them up. It makes them feel used and cheap, and it's a terrible thing, right? So some women who are naturally more feminine in their essence, right, when they encounter the culture and their girlfriend, they say, "Girl, you're too much of a prude. You need to get yours. Get a couple of drinks." Like seriously, they're encouraged to be promiscuous in the name of men do it, right? Not understanding the cost for the feminine at that. So Women are shamed out of being virtuous by their friends and the culture. So the new normal is this. The new normal is that you go on a date, you like the guy, you like the girl, you go on 1, 2, 3 dates. By the fourth one, we have sex. And we think that intimacy starts a relationship, except what's happening is you're triggering the human animal in man. You're triggering his body. You have him by the penis first. He does not know you. And what happens is a man doesn't care for you. You just become a sex object and you get stuck in that spot. So interesting, right? So men always want to have sex, but when you have sex with them too early, they lose respect for you. That's just instinct in nature. And men don't even know what's happening. Men just want to have sex because that's how we get out of our heads and we get present, right? We love that. There's a lot of dopamine in that. There's a lot of endorphins in that. It feels really good. It's fun. It's like sport, right? But if it destroys the way he can respect a woman, and that's when women complain that men just want sex. Well, yeah, if you give them sex, that's all they want, as opposed to setting up boundaries and let him find out who you are. Be virtuous, bring value. If he's looking to build, if he's looking for a wife, he wants you to wait. He wants to be able to respect you. You know this. This as a man, you know this. I'm sure you know this. That when you really, really like a girl, you don't try to move in on her hard and quick. You take your time. You're trying to like, show you a good guy, right? You don't try to seduce her really quickly. If you're looking for a wife, right? Because some guys don't even believe it. Now in our culture, the guys don't even want that because they don't want to get married. They don't want the responsibility. They don't want to
Or I
have
say
their
they don't
lives,
know
right? So,
exactly what they want, whether it's wife or girl for the night or yeah.
right. So they play with women, and if you just keep playing with women, if you keep playing with men, the mechanism of bonding that is required before sex does not happen. So you have a bunch of generation of just having fun, not understanding how come it doesn't work out. If you get a man by the body first, you don't get his heart. That's what I'm saying. Now again, it's more data, right? If a guy knows you for 3 or 4 weeks, and you like the guy in 3 or 4 weeks, and he likes you back, get this. This is crazy stuff. Nobody knows this. When you have sex with him, his investment in you stops right there. He cannot he cannot emotionally love you more, care for you more than when he did when the first time he had sex. It stops him dead in his track. Huh. Interesting, huh? So if you wonder why men don't step up, it's because you have sex with them. They stop. They can't like you anymore. They can't respect you anymore. And if you haven't built that rapport of, by the way, right, in a few weeks, you don't know anybody. You don't know each other, right? To get intimate with somebody you don't know, you never met his parents, you don't know his lifestyle, right? You don't know how he manages stress, money, anxiety, how he fights. Like, you don't know anything. You're just like in the goo goo la la land of like newness and fun, right? You don't know who this guy is, and he doesn't know who you are. But if you're going to put out, he's going to be really fine to take it, but he's going to typically move on. I mean, I still research this to this day, because people will say, "Oh, it's generational. It's not like this anymore." Crap, bullshit. Sorry, bullshit. I'm interviewing 25-year-old, 26-year-old, 29-year-old who are dating, and it's the same story. It's the same story. They can't respect the girls who don't respect themselves. That's how they say it, and so they keep looking for the one who isn't one of those. It's not cute, but that's the fact. Again, I could. There's a lot more statistical details than that, but this is too much of a conversation for here. But in a nutshell, that's what it is.
No, that makes sense. I'll say, um, obviously it's not totality, but it if it's backed up by data, then
Nothing is totality,
um,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So last question in this segment, and so I did just
Yes,
a
sir.
random question leading into this interview, and I looked up the aspects of a healthy relationship, right? This because I figured we talk about that, and I wanted to kind of see what the interwebs, what Google thought about healthy aspects of relationship, and so I came up with four things, and I want to see which you look at as the very most important of those four. And so they say honesty, trust, respect, and open communications. If you had to pick one as the most important one, honesty, trust, respect, and open communications, which of those four do you see as the most important aspect of a healthy relationship?
Well, you can't really have one without the others. Like this is a cocktail here that's essential. That if you if you don't, respect, love and respect is something that both men and women want. But if you understand that a man cannot love you if you don't respect him, will go nowhere. That's a big drive. And a woman, and a woman will not respect you if she doesn't feel loved and cherished by you. So these two happen completely separately, and we're again blind to this. We don't understand this paradigm. So you don't respect men; they can't love you. They'll just play with you. They'll just mess with you, right? If you don't, a woman doesn't feel cherished, she can't fall in love with you and respect you. Right. So that's a huge one. But communication is, again, a big part of my work. We don't listen, we don't speak and hear the same things. It sounds insane, I know, but it's factual. Men and women do not communicate in ways that we actually kind of hear each other. So that's another one that we look at each other. I speak English, you hear the words. No, we're not communicating. What she's hearing is not what he said, and what she says is not what he's hearing. Again, it sounds insane, but it's the paradigm of our brains, whether we wire, the way we communicate is not the same. So respect, absolutely. Communication, honesty is obviously to be able to, the person is who they say they are, right? It's not a mask, it's not a cover, it's not a psychopath, right? That's essential to feel safe, by the way. Women need safety. Women feel safe in order for them to open up and release and let go and bond in a relationship. If a woman doesn't feel safe, she's out of there. Nothing's possible. The same way that if a man doesn't feel respected, nothing's possible. He's going to walk away. It doesn't work. Essentially, at the base level, right? At the very human animal level. And trust, again, trust is something that if you don't trust your partner, I had a couple just break up. They were dating, and this is terrible thing. Again, these are the things that destroy everything, right? So this man who's a lawyer, he was 30 years old, has his life together, makes a ton of money, blah blah blah, right? He's got, like, he's a traditional man who could provide, protect, cherish, right? Who's looking for a wife. So my clients, they start dating, and what happened is, even though she's a good girl, she was virtuous, and she did per my guidance, sort of, waited to get intimate so that they actually get to know each other and like each other, as opposed to liking liking each other sexually first, which is, again, it's a terrible thing because it makes people feel more compatible because of the sex than they actually are. They don't know each other, but they feel compatible. They feel you know what I mean? So the chemistry of that is what is dangerous, because eventually you'll find out you're not you don't know them, and the person that you find out is, incompatible with you lifestyle. Anyway, so she waited, beautifully paced the whole thing, and by the time they cross the line, there's a thing that men say, which is interesting, that they all say when they're ready to make a commitment. It's fascinating. Like, so ladies don't know this. Men just do it instinctively. They can't explain it. But anyway, so when he stepped in and said, "I want you to be my girlfriend," right? And they started the next phase of the relationship at, on an intimate level after knowing each other for a few months. Typically, it's three. Typically, it's about 3 months. So, it's worth the wait. It's not 3 years. It's about 3 months, right? Okay, so it's simple enough. I'm telling you, it's simple enough. But what happened to him, again, this is, again, trauma and how people, like, get stuck on what happened to them. He had the girlfriend that he had the year prior cheated on him with his neighbor. And you talked about that, right? For the 10 things by your survey, like the broken heart syndrome, actual fact, especially on men, by the way. It's called a katasubo myopathy heart attack. It's when a man feels so betrayed, that the lower half of his heart fills up with water, and they have a freaking heart attack, and some of them die. It's a true thing. It's a chemical reaction from betrayal. So when a man has been betrayed by his girlfriend, his wife, whatever, the injury on the nervous system and on the body is huge. Anyway, so this guy was cheated on. He's a good guy. He works. All he does is work. He's a lawyer, right? Blah, blah, blah. And provides everything. But so my client comes in, and ultimately, again, it's all tied back to what you said earlier, right? it turned out after months, like she could not leave out of town. When she was out of town, or he was out of town, he would actually have her videotape the fact there was nobody in her house because he didn't trust her because of the other chick. So he was so traumatized that he could not trust her to be virtuous, even though she was. Do you know what I mean? It would make her videotape the space, the hotel room, videotape her house when he wasn't present, completely paranoid, right? Broken, traumatized. And what happened in the end, she's like, I can't live like this. Like, you have to trust me. And he goes, and it came out eventually, I don't trust you. And that makes them incompatible, right? So these 4 things you have here are essential, yes, but all of them are essential. You can't just pick one. It's not enough. It's like saying, as long as we love each other, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. Bullshit. It takes 4 things for a relationship to go, long term. Love is not enough. Love is not enough. And I don't necessarily want to describe it here, but like the fact is that's not enough. It's the same thing as like, if you one of these things missing, it won't work.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, you got me going.
I would say normally I would try to tie you down to an answer there, but I actually liked your answer because they are all intertwined in many ways. I think my answer to that would probably be the honesty part. I think if you come out the gate, your intentions, who you are, those things, and this is past experience has kind of molded that
Yep.
answer for me. But if you start on the place of honesty, then the other things, communication is easier, the respect is easier, the trust is easier. But I get that they're all intertwined, and it's hard to have a big portion of one without a big portion of the other. So I definitely get that.
Yep. I mean, like I said, the
Right.
communication part that we're so blind to, right, will derail you sooner or later. It's just sooner or later.
Yeah.
Women think that you're doing it on purpose, and you're like, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not at all what I was thinking. But I know it. I feel it, right? Like we missed the boat, and that was huge. So you could be the most honest people together. The miscommunication happens regardless, and that becomes I don't like you. I don't trust you. I don't want to be with you. You're not what I'm looking for. But we missed the boat, right? Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna stick to my guns. All 4 essential.
Yeah, and really, that to the example you gave, that guy's really looking for validation. That's why he's asking her to record things. He, every time he thinks he trusts her, he needs that validation. That, hey, my trust is warranted. I need that video proof
Well,
that you're actually where you are.
but
Just because it's past pain.
Right, he's broken, it's traumatized, right? So something that needs to be handled that he's not handled. And nobody could, I mean, he's going to have the same problem with the next girl and the next girl and the next girl because of what happened to him. He's not dealt with that. He just put it behind him as no big deal. But these things don't go away, right? Trauma is on your nervous system. Trauma drives us, right? And in all kinds of layers, like women have trauma as well. Everybody's got trauma of some kind. This one, again, disallowed him to trust. So without trusting, how do you build somebody with somebody you don't trust? You can't. So it won't work. So he's gonna have to handle that. And it's sad for her because he was really everything she wanted, but you couldn't trust her. Incompatible
Yeah,
is what I call it in my work.
and a lot,
Incompatible.
I think an overused word today is triggers, but triggers are really real. I mean, there are things
Oh,
that from your past or trauma you've been through where you'll be triggered into really bad behavior, really bad habits,
yep,
just because something reminds you of a really bad situation you're in.
yep.
And so I know we overuse the word trigger today, but triggers are real.
They're real and they're powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
what people do, this is again what doesn't work. What doesn't work is people hide their triggers from each other. The beginning of relationships
Or from
for
themselves.
months, but like to bring forth all the best qualities and your best friend is a mask, right? I'm easygoing, I'm fun, I'm no trouble, right? Until this thing's life kicks in, right? So there's actually 4 phases to developing a relationship. The first 3 months is the honeymoon phase or the perfect phase when everybody's easygoing, everything is fun, nothing bothers anybody, right? It's just like we put up this fake front, this fakeness of I'm easygoing and I'm fun and yeah, nothing bothers me until right, that's not real. So the next 3 months is when like the reality shows up and people kind of it's called the imperfect phase when people kind of show the true colors, right? They start reacting to stuff, they stop being cool about stuff, they start getting triggered by stuff, right? But and then 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months is then we actually kind of start negotiating because we're involved. Anyway, so I always say, don't hide your triggers. Bring him forth as soon as possible. Do you know what I mean? Like bring him forth so that, because when you trigger somebody, who they are kind of disappears and you get a monster, and you wonder who the hell you're with, right? So I say, be clear on your triggers. Make sure you tell somebody, if you do this to me, I'm going to turn into this. Like my dad, my mother, my dad, whatever, right? Like used to do this to me. If you talk to me this way, I will act like this. It will bring out the worst in me. Huh? Why? Because my dad, my mom, whatever. Oh, okay. So if you have to also have an understanding of that. Some people have no idea, but if you dig in a little bit, right, you know what your triggers are, right? So now the person knows, or at least been forewarned of the quirkiness that we all have, right? And again, if you share that with each other, when that happens, you can actually go, "Oh, I just did it. I'm so sorry." That's the thing, right? Like, oh, so sorry. I didn't mean it. Mean it right. I was just like, and all of a sudden we could manage the traumas. We can manage. So stop hiding. Stop pretending you're perfect. Nobody is. Stop pretending. People could do it for months, pretending to be somebody else for like 9 months. And typically there's a timeline. By 9 months, you can't put up the front end longer, and the mask falls off, and the person you're with is like, "Who the hell are you? Who's the lovely girl there? Who's the like solid dude that I knew for 9 months? Fake." That's what we do
Yeah, that's an
instinctively, by
interesting
the way.
timeline. Just think about my own story. That's an interesting
Yep.
timeline based on what I've experienced, and I'm sitting there
Yeah.
thinking in my head as you're talking. I'm like, wait, let me start the day we met to the day. Yeah, I mean
Yep.
that was about 7 months. Yeah,
Yep. So, and when I learned this, I looked back to my own life, and every relationship I had died at 9 months, because 9 months to 12 and forward is when we actually see the, you have to, we call it the commitment phase, where we can actually kind of start looking into the future. Like there's no deal breakers. Deal breakers show up at about 9 months. So we understand we're quirky and weird, and don't do this because she'll do this, and don't say this because he'll do that, but it's not a deal breaker. So now we're kind of grooving, understanding each other, negotiating some stuff. And then, so after 9 months, there's no deal breakers. There's naturally, instinctively kind of like, huh, this could work. You could actually look in the future. And now we start literally looking at each other as building together. Now, for me, to my wife, every girl that I dated went to 9 months. It was crazy. Like the rhythm is insane. Again, we think it was so random, and everybody's doing like nature and seasons and weeks and days and months. Like we have, there's a rhythm to building relationships. Crazy, right? All my relationship died at 9 months because I was too young. I didn't have the resources to take on a relationship or take care of a woman. I didn't have the resources, right? So it was fun. It was less fun. We started negotiating at 9 months. Like, I can't take this the next step. I'm not ready. I don't have it. I'm not completely solid yet. And I would drop the girl and start with another one. And I like every one of them. Crazy. 9 months, 9 months, 9 months ish. Right? It's fascinating. Right, because there's a little bit of flex. If you see each other more than once or twice a week, it moves a little faster, but not that much. It's a very little adjustment within this rhythm of getting to know somebody, getting to trust somebody, getting to figure out, their quirks and the things that are not deal breakers. It takes 9 months typically for deal breakers. Crazy. So take your time. Don't get married after 3 months. You're in the honeymoon phase. You're in the perfect phase. But people do it, right? It happens to like fly to Vegas because we have so much chemistry. We follow, finish each other's sentences. This is the person, because people think chemistry is the thing that's going to keep you together. That's not. Again, that's one out of the four. Right. So if you only have chemistry for each other, and you think like that's what's going to hold you together so you don't get bored, it's the biggest joke. But people are silly that way. They just like, I go, if this is your person, it'll be your person in a year, right? There's no reason to fly to Vegas to get married because you just think, you found they have so much anyway. So there's a bunch of silly things that we do, not understanding ourselves, human beings, and the rhythm of building. Oh my goodness, I could do this all day long.
no, I hear you. All right, Andre. So now for my favorite segment, my guest called First Thoughts, sponsored by SRA Solutions Inc. SRA Solutions provides complete, robust, precise, and reusable real world solutions, satisfying and resolving your business needs. For more information, visit rebrand.ly/DHPSRE. Now, Andre, you may remember for the first time you stepped into Dave's head, a segment called First Thoughts, where I offer my guests a word or a phrase to get their first thoughts. For those of you joining or listening for the first time or watching for the first time, like I always say, shame on you, but I'm happy you're here. Andre, are you ready for some first thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Bring it.
All right. So we kind of touched on this one already, and I was thinking in my head about switching it up, but I just want to see anyway what your first thoughts are.
Mm.
So if I say divorce rates, what's your first thought?
Um, bad statistics, lies.
Okay.
Again, I'm a
You feel
statistic
free
guy.
to
I'm all about
elaborate.
numbers. I'm all about
Hmm.
numbers. So the 50% divorce rate in the heterosexual couple is a lie. It's at what we could see. Again, it changes a bit depending on the region, right? But it's about 42%. So
Hmm.
it's a big difference, I think. Now, for gay couples, males, it's only 26%.
Hmm.
For lesbian couples, female is 76%. Interesting.
Hmm.
So it kind of lines up with what I said earlier. Women leave 80% of the
Hmm.
time. So it's again statistics, not my opinion. So the divorce rates, the scaring people out of marriages and stuff is a false flag again.
Hmm. Okay. So next first thought, premarital counseling. What's your first thought?
Yeah. Boy. Um, all right. So I'm not a fan of counseling.
Hmm.
Um, because the system, the business model of therapy and the APA, the American Psychological Association,
Hmm.
is again, it's part of the agenda. That's part of what doesn't work. I'm just gonna say. I mean, I'm pissing off a lot of people here who are therapists, but the modeling is always to lean towards the feminine. So you go to couples therapy, they're going to train the guy, they're going to try to convince him to act more like a girl, to be more feminine, to acquiesce to her comfort and needs. And you know what I mean? It's not a balanced system. Again, because according to the APA, masculinity is dangerous
Hmm.
and unhealthy for man. They used to use the
Hmm.
word toxic in the APA book, and people went
Wow.
crazy, so they pulled that out. But they're actually now claiming it's unhealthy to be masculine. It's psychologically for men. They need to be more like girls. This is the modeling.
Hmm.
So therapy, sorry, no,
Hmm.
because it doesn't help. It actually kind of perpetuates the idea that the female knows better, that the feminine way is the only way to go, and it's not true. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Sorry.
Hmm. I had not heard that before, but I would definitely go look that up because that's
Go look it up. The APA.
bias
Go
is
go
probably
check out what they
bias is
say about
probably an easy way
masculine.
to put that, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. All
It's
right, so
terrible,
actually
is what
switching
it
up
is.
this last first. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I mean that's another way to put it. Yeah. So I did want to switch this one up, and this is off the back of some of the comments I've gotten and also conversation we had today. But I'm curious what your thoughts would be around this. So if I said Kamala Harris or any woman for president, what would your first thought be?
Oh, you're gonna take me there, really?
Yeah, let's go.
This is how people are gonna hate on me. You know. Oi. So. Oi. 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 How to say without sounding like a pig? Because I'm not.
Mm.
I'm not misogynistic. I love women, right? But like I said, I'm gonna say it like nature has it wired this way. We're built differently. So men tend to be naturally more logical. Women tend to be naturally more emotional. Fact, right? We can't deny that. Yes or no? Now, there are women who can be
Okay.
logical, more masculine, sure, and there are men who can be more feminine, yes. But in nature, the masculine is more logical. That's why, the system typically is masculine. In the world, we live in a man's world for sure, because in order to build a business, to build a life, to build a country, we have to do it with a plan and logic that makes sense, right? It's like the masculine always leads with this makes sense. This is what we need to do to survive. This is what we need to survive. And the feminine comes with, well, it's not nice to those people. Well, it's besides the point, because if we're going to survive, we have to set rules, we have to set boundaries, we have to set systems, we have to, you understand? Like,
Hmm.
if I want to protect my family from, again, if we're talking about caveman, right? If I want to protect my family from the tribe who's trying to take us over, right? There's no sweet feelings there. It's I have to kill them because they're going to kill us, right? So it's a linear kind of like hunter lifestyle, but like this is how we protect ourselves, right? So feelings are irrelevant for things to be logical and function for survival.
Mm.
So if you get a, so we know that women in charge kind of have feelings, and what happened is, again, the more logic there is, the less feelings there are in any situation, and the more feelings there are, the less logic there is. Do you want me to say more? Isn't it obvious what I'm saying?
No, I think it is. But so I'm going to follow up real quick. And is this
Yeah.
more just the president role, or is this any elected office?
The masculine is more logical, the feminine is more emotional.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
tell me, like, just depending who's driving, you're gonna have one that's more logical and one's more emotional. Which do you
Mm.
want to drive?
I'm a logical person, so.
The what?
But I said I'm a
What'd
logical
you say?
person, so that's just me.
Right. So again, some of the stuff that comes out of the like, in every aspect of life, right? The feminine is emotional, and sometimes we go, "What the hell are you
Mm.
talking about? That makes no sense. That's not what right." And so, but they're emotional. It's okay. It's we know this. We
Mm.
love that because it's also they live from their hearts. But
Mm.
if again, in structural system for survival, for success, for to build a culture, society, feelings really don't have a big place. Logic,
Mm.
boundaries, reasons, linear thinking. And again, by the way, it's every business in the world. It's all structured that way. If we're going to succeed, there's an A, B, C that's logical and linear. It's not about how you feel, right? Like this, what has to be done. What has to be done to
So,
succeed? It has to be to make money. So, yeah,
so the counter argument to that would be if you think about the world we live in right now, where you're essentially dropping bombs like video games, right? It's very
yep,
detached from the visual aspect of seeing death and carnage and collateral damage and all those things that you might need a little more emotion to take away from just the nature to just drop a bomb here, drop a bomb there.
hmm
Wouldn't that be a good reason to inject a little bit more emotion into today's world from a
well,
elected official position?
but I think that's when women come in beautifully. By the way, because sometimes we maybe too heady, too kind of like about winning, about getting on top of, because it's kind of instinct in men, right? And so
Mhm.
put that into a political system, the same thing would happen, right? We go to crush because that's how we succeed, right? So somebody has to lose for us to win. That's the masculine. But women, this is the beauty of women. Is that women actually could say, oh, maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe that's not necessary. Maybe there's another way, right? And kind of like calibrate that that nature of us males to be so logical and winning at all costs. Winning at all costs can be very dangerous. Hold on one second. Winning at all costs can be quite dangerous. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
this again, the balance of masculine and feminine. Men will lead, but women will say, by the way, how about just a little easier, a lot of soft, right? Like this, and this is again the beauty of yin yang and coming together. If you do just the man's way, it's too rough. Often, like you just said, if it's used the female way, it's too soft. A lot of times, we need each other in every aspect of life. We need each other to balance each other out and have I can kind of like, oh yeah, maybe I could, right? My wife will come up with like solutions to problems that I can't solve because she has a different brain and different, you know what I mean, different instinct. And so I'll go, I have this and this, and I'm not sure. Damn it, like this with that and this, like, and I'm trying to logically figure it out. And she's like, well, cool, but what about this? Maybe get together. With like, oh my god, brilliant.
Hmm.
So yes, we need ladies' sensitivities to help us, but it's not one or the other, right?
Mhm.
It's not one or the other. It's together. So if a woman can lead and has a team that could, if things keep things linear enough, maybe. But the presidency, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Okay, I think I get it. Okay. So that's all for first thoughts. This season, by the way, turning over first thoughts to my guest in a segment I call TO First Thoughts. And what that does is give the power to my guest to ask a first thought of me. So, Andre, if you had a first thought to throw my way, what would it be?
A first thought.
Yeah.
My first thought, if we're going to consider what I see every single day, is I want to say, think for yourself. Think for yourself. Like my assistant at 29, who can't say she wants the traditional lifestyle, right? Because they attack her. Like that's what she wants, right? So, ladies, if you want to be mothers and wives, go be mothers and wives. Forget your culture. Forget men are dangerous. Forget, you want to learn this stuff. That's what I do. But you, if you step into fear because the system is making everybody fearful, both men and women, right? So if you want to be a boss babe, go right ahead. Have fun. It's going to cost you something eventually because it does. And again, just ask the ladies who've done that, who are now in their 50s, how happy they are and what they wish they'd have done, right? Like I think smart people don't have to make their own mistakes. They go find out what other people have mistakes that people have made, so you don't need to do it yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because some of this stuff is irreversible. Think for yourself. You want traditional life? You want to be a mom? Go for it. And forget your culture, forget your teachers, forget your mother who might have made some bad choices and say men are crap. That was her mistake. Don't let that pollute your life. What is it you want? Go for it. You want to be a boss? Be a boss. But if you want to be a mom, be a mom. Damn it. And the people who are happiest, again, line up more with traditional ways. There's a way to be a mom and still be, working in the world. There's a calibration that needs to take place. You could be a mom and be in the world and be relevant and be of service in the world. There's a way to have it all, but it's not being a boss babe first. And that's all I'm say about that. Think for yourself and go talk to the ladies and the men who made terrible mistakes and listen to their advice before it's costing you everything you might dream of. It's terrible.
Gotcha. No, that's great advice. And so I actually let that ride. It was actually supposed to be a first thought for me to give my first thought on something that popped in your head, but it's okay. That I let it ride because that was a great advice. Um, but
Fair
I
enough.
think you have a book that just came out or is about to come out, correct?
No, I'm part of two books collaboration that don't necessarily line up with my work as much as my life story and how to get it. I got to be successful, and so there are more stories of success that I'm part of. A couple of books. I have two books in my head that need to be produced. That I'm so busy, I'm having a hard time locking it down. But one is about the relationship dance, men and women. The other one is about how to raise children in a way that children kind of get to flourish their best. I have two children who are amazing, and I it was almost an experiment the way I raised them because I knew what didn't work for me, the way I was raised, and I went into researching because that's all I do. I research everything. I research what people do. They do one way or the other to raise their children, and neither one of those for me were acceptable. I was not going to scare my children straight, and I was not going to seduce them into doing what I want them to do. This is what most people do. So, if I raised them to be adults, I had to approach them as adults, and I had to negotiate like adults, and they had to have their own voice within the system as I'm guiding them, raising them, right? So I have a book about child rearing because I have a 24 and a 22-year-old that are amazing and never did any of the weird shit. Excuse my French, but like there was no slamming doors in my house ever. There's never been yelling and fights and madness. It was always been calm because everybody always had a voice and everything was negotiable. And like without there was no power tripping. Children rebel because you're trying to control them, and this is what doesn't work, right? Whether you control them with scaring them or seducing them, right? If you act right, you get a dessert, right? Like crap. No, we don't seduce children into doing the right thing, right? And we don't scare the hell out of them. That's the way I was raised. So there's a way to do this. So that's the second book is child rearing that, per my experiment, turned out absolutely fantastic. And now I'm bragging.
So if people want to get a hold of you, tell the audience how to get a hold of you and all the ways to connect with you.
Okay, so I'm in all social media, either under my website is projectequinox.net. and you could spend the day there with all kinds of stuff. There's blog, there's articles, there's whatever. You can also through there connect to all my social media. So my social media is under my personal name, Andre Paradis, and or Project Equinox. So either one, if you just Google my name, you'll everything will pop up. But I have two gifts for you listeners, if you're interested.
Sure, sure.
Is that cool? So I noticed I do a lot of podcasting because my job, my mission, my God mission is to spread the hope in the world that there is relationships are possible, healthy relationships long term are possible. I do it with my clients. I want to take it to a world movement. I want to take it to a world, mission. Oprah big, I called it. It's wild. So I do a lot of podcasting to sound the waves, spread out the hope for both men and women. It is possible. It's just what is out there is keeping you from what's possible. Huh. All right. So that's why I do podcasts. Thank you for helping spreading the word and the hope. But I notice there's two types of listeners on podcasts. There are people who come in for information, like they're poking around at the whole idea of relationships. Like they've never really thought about it before, but now they're like, I'm not sure I know what I'm doing here, whatever. So for information seekers, I'll send you directly to my email. If you go to Andre, Andre, coaching, the word coaching, COACHING, the number 1 at Gmail. And in the subject box, that's my direct email. In the subject box, you say workshop. I have a 25-minute workshop that's designed for the ladies that actually will help you understand a lot of my work by understanding what we talked about, you and I, but also I lean into women are challenged with, culture with either being in a money lane or the love lane. You can't be in both lanes, right? And in a culture where women want to have it all, they should have it all, or said they should have it all, that's a huge challenge, and nobody really has a grasp on how to get that done. So there's a whole chapter on that in there, 25 minutes, like I said, Andre Coaching 1 at Gmail, workshop. I'll send you this 25-minute video to will kind of help you kind of wrangle this up. There's a way to have it all, not how the culture is dialing it in. That's one. So that's for the information seekers. If you're I call it an action person, a take charge kind of person, kind of take action. If something I said resonates with you, as in, I wonder what you'd say about me. I wonder what you would like, Andre Coaching 1 in the subject box, write talk now, and I'll send you a calendar link to my calendar, and then you could actually book a time that's open, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation on Zoom like this. This is who I am. No pressure, no stress, no. For some people, it takes a little bit of guts, like to speak to a stranger about your personal life. But that call is fantastic because we'll actually talk about your traumas, your triggers, how that all came up. For most masculine women, there's trauma in their childhood. For most feminine men, there's trauma in their childhood. So you're not necessarily broken. You're just a result of your past. So I could decode this. We go right to when that happened in about 15, 20 minutes, where the wheels came off. That explains your existence and why you're stuck in the pattern that's not helping. So that alone is liberating. That you're not broken. You're just right. So if we know what happened, it's fixable because it's fixable. And then from there, like, what's the dream? What is the dream that you want, that you seem to be stuck on, not able to attain? Andre Coaching 1, talk now. We'll have a conversation. It's on me. Again, that call alone, whether, then from there, obviously, there's an option to work with me if you want to take action. But even if you don't take action, that call alone is often very, very liberating and kind of reframe your whole idea of how you get to be you and why. So that's my offer.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate that, and I'm sure some of the audience, especially the info, because my audience is very info centric. They love to discover and talk and comment and inbox me and all types of stuff.
Beautiful.
For information. So,
and again, it's also,
yeah.
And also, if any, it's just sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I says if anybody wants to email me just to tell me I'm full of crap or challenge me or even ask me questions directly, like I'm wide open, right? And if you want both gifts, ask for both gifts, ask for the workshop and the conversation. Like literally, like, I want to spread this out and help people kind of really decode what it's what seems to be hopeless out there. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. So there.
Okay. Oh no. Well, I appreciate that, Andre, for joining me for a second time. We might have to do a third, but at least for the second time, I
I'm
appreciate you stepping in the
yeah.
Dave's head. And like I've said all season to all my guests, have a great rest of the 2024.
Appreciate it.
My absolute favorite segment of my podcast is my GRIN, which stands for Great Reason to Be in Love with Now. Before we talk about the great reason to be in love with now for this episode, check out Opus Clip. Opus Clip is the #1 AI video clipping and editing tool that repurposes your long videos into viral short videos in just one click. For more information, visit rebrand.ly/DHP Opus Clip. That's rebrand.ly/DHP OPUS CLIP. Now, I talked in the opening about fall and the beauty of fall, the things you can do to bring people together and all that. And then we talked about relationships with my guest, Andre Paradis. And one of the things that I think it's important to look at is combining the two, right? So we talked about our loved ones, we talked about relationships, we talked about the fall. And verywellmind.com has an article, 11 fall date ideas to try during the coziest season. Now, they say that fall is probably the best season for romance. I tend to agree. I might argue back a little bit on the summer side of things because, your beaches, all that stuff. But if you're staying home, staying in the area, fall, absolutely one of the best seasons for romance. They come back and say the sweltering months of the summer are over and it finally feels like you want to cuddle up next to someone again. I get that. I don't mind cuddling up in the summertime. We gonna sweat, don't matter. But they say dating helps keeps that romantic spark alive by reminding us of why we fell in love with our partner in the first place. And it's also a great way to let loose and forget, however briefly, about day-to-day stressors. Dating your partner also adds variety to your routine, allowing you to create new memories together. And it can strengthen your connection and commitment to each other. Now, again, they gave 11 examples. I'll touch on them a little bit. I'll talk about which ones I like and which ones I don't like. But let's start with #1, a nature hike. They say autumn is arguably one of the prettiest times of the year. Agreed. So it makes sense to head outdoors and soak up the foliage and great weather. Research local hotspots for leaf peeping. First of all, I've never heard of the term leaf peeping. Now, I do, go out in public and people, which is aka people watch, but I've never heard of leaf peeping before. Interesting. Or cozy up together in a park for a picnic complete with hot apple cider or pumpkin spice latte. Or we could just do a hot toddy or something like that. But I actually don't mind the idea of a nature hike. I don't mind going for walks. I actually like the idea of a picnic. I think it's something that's kind of cool to do if you get like one of those, not unseasonably warm because you don't want it summer. I don't want to be out there baking on the grass. But like, you get one of those 60, 70 degree day type of things. I think that works. #2, go wine tasting. Now, I'm all for this one. They say wine tasting isn't merely an indulgence in rich flavors. It also sets a stage for deeper connections. It's interesting to me they chose the word deeper connection because all I think about when I think of wine tasting is going to drink a lot of wine. And you get a little tipsy. Maybe somebody gets a little too tipsy. But it's wine tasting. Wouldn't think of wine tasting being a catalyst or conduit for deeper connections. Unless you loose lips sink ships, I think the phrase is. But in this case, maybe you get a little tipsy and open up during wine tasting. But I think it's more of a bonding thing because you get to just sit there and talk randomly about things. I think it goes back to the idea of letting loose from the daily stressors and really focusing on the person you're with at the wine tasting. #3, I love cozy up next to a blazing bonfire. They say chilly evenings wrapped up in blankets around a flickering fire is pure fall magic. Completely agree. Have a fireplace. Would love to do that. Lay on the ground, grab a pillow, watch some TV, fireplace, just chat, whatever. Definitely love that one. Now, the blazing bonfire thing, I'm thinking, like outside bonfire, outside in the cold, big fire. I would do that too. Not where I'm at currently, but I would do that too. Number 4, not a big fan. I'll tell you why. Play in the leaves. They say good childhood fun is a great way to connect and bond. Keep some of the leaves and create some art to remember the date. Now, I'm okay with the second part. We can keep the leaves and make some art out of it, make a picture frame, glue them and do whatever. Cool. Absolutely with it. Not a big fan of playing in leaves though. I think there's too much crap in leaves. A pile of leaves. I just don't want that all over my body and getting in my nose and mouth and no. We can rake up some leaves though. Have a little fun with that. But I'm not jumping in a pile of leaves. I'm just not doing it. Sorry. Number 5, pumpkin carving night. They say brainstorm creative pumpkin carving ideas together and see whose design turns out the best. Carve your initials into the pumpkin for extra romantic flair. I'm pretty sure I've never carved a pumpkin before. Would I be against it? No. But I can think of other things we can do together. But it probably would be cool to try. I mean, I've seen some designs. Listen, I am no artiste, okay? I don't make any claims to be an artiste. However, I've seen some really amazing carvings on pumpkins before. Like just me wondering, how the hell did you even think to do that? So it could be kind of cool to surprise myself. Like maybe I'm a hidden artist for pumpkin carving or something like that. Try anything once, right? Except playing in leaves. Won't do that. Number 6, cook a special meal together. Now, obviously, I'm all over this one. Love this idea. Have done it before. We'll do it again. Doesn't need to be fall. Can be any time during the year. They say cooking together is the ultimate bonding experience because you work on how to communicate and come together to create something. Plus, who doesn't love a cozy meal? 100% agree. I think it's an opportunity for not only just communication, but bonding, spending time together, seeing each other in a situation or environment that's very peaceful, right? Unless you can't cook and you're burning stuff and then you start yelling at each other and it just goes to shit. But if you're cooking together or one's seasoning, one's chopping, one's baking, one's blending, there's so many opportunities to work together. And I think that's important in a relationship, to work together and to kind of get to know each other's nuances in the kitchen. Because if you're going to work together, elbow to elbow or not, it's important to understand each other's tendencies. So I love that one. Number 7, Mateo will love this one. Spooky movie night. They say nothing says I like spending time with you more than cuddles and clutching each other during a scary movie. Now, I will say, I love scary movies. Love, love, love scary movies. I just haven't been scared in a long time. And to me, it's the quality of the scary movie that's out there. I just don't feel scared. I'm pretty sure I've said this, maybe not on this podcast, but before to friends and probably family. I think the last movie that actually scared me might have been Candyman, the original Candyman that came out in the 90s, I believe it was. And I think before that, there's the original Hitcher, the guy who hitched a ride and tormented people. I don't know why that movie scared me so much. Maybe because I remember my sister and I watching it like 2 o'clock in the morning. We were very young. Should have been asleep. That's what the hell we get. But I remember that movie just freaking me the heck out because the original Hitcher was terrifying. And I'm like, I don't know, 9, 10 years old. Who knows how? I'm very, very young. Watching this movie at 2 o'clock in the morning when I should have been asleep. So that's kind of what I get. I deserve that a little bit. But spooky movie night kind of goes along with the fire, booming fire, Got fire, scary movie, combine it with some wine. There you go. It makes for a great evening. Number 8, go apple picking. And they also added and bake a tasty pie. They say apple picking is another way to enjoy the autumn weather with your special someone. And it's definitely a great moment for some cute photos together too. Now, I've never been apple picking. I actually think it'd be kind of cool. I think it's, being outside, picking apples, and probably learning a little something too about how they're growing. I have no idea. You plant an apple tree, it grows. I don't know what it takes to grow good ones and bad ones, and when you pull them, when you don't pull them. But to go pick your own and then turn it into a pie seems like, first of all, the freshest thing possible, because you're picking fresh apples off a tree and turning it into a pie within an hour. That's got to be an amazing pie, in theory. So I would love to go do that. Number 9 probably will be my number 1, or if not my number 1, at worst my number 2. Scenic fall drive and picnic. Now, really just the first half. I love driving and I love the scenic drive. The picnic park, yeah, that could be added on as well to make it even better. But they say one of the best parts about autumn is the changing fall foliage. 100% agree. Scout some of the best spots for leaf peeping. Again, this word leaf peeping. Within a few hours of you, and head out for a fun road trip to take in the views. Now, I'm not, totally dense. I get the meaning of leaf peeping. I've just never heard of the phrase leaf peeping. It's very strange to me. But I absolutely love driving in the fall. I will say, absolutely love driving in the spring as well, for much of the same reasons. The views you get. I love taking a single lane road and winding road, and some might say driving a little too fast, but enjoying the view of the fresh foliage growing in the spring, and in the fall, the changing colors and all that stuff. I will say, for obvious reasons, in the fall, there's a little more caution taken with driving, because now the leaves on the ground produce oils that make things slick. Not that good. Spring, let's be out. So, number 10, scroll through a pumpkin patch. They say, for a fun, possibly new date experience, grab your partner and go for a stroll through a pumpkin patch, picking out some cute pumpkins while you're there. Haven't done that before either. Kind of like the pumpkin carving. I'm guessing you could pick a pumpkin and then take it and carve it. You knock out 2 of these 11 in one fall swoop. But I would not be opposed to it. I think the apple picking would probably be more fun than the pumpkin picking. That's just me. But I would not be opposed to that one, doing that one. Last one, number 11, try a couple's tarot reading. I thought this was just the most random one to throw in a bunch compared to the other 10. But they say this feels particularly on theme throughout autumn and close to Halloween. Kind of makes sense. And whether you believe in the validity of the reading or not, it can spark some interesting conversations. You're damn right it can. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I'm not a big on tarot reading type of thing. Would I do it once? Sure. The overthinker in me probably would get some weird message that would have me thinking for 3-4 weeks about it. But it would be interesting to see what would happen if we actually did something like that. I don't know. I would have zero expectations. I would not know how left this would go, how right it would go, how it would just be something simple like thank you for your $20 or whatever it costs. I don't know what it costs. But thank you for your $20. I've told you nothing. Or would it be one of those things where it's like, holy crap, what did she just say? How did she know that? That kind of mind-blowing thing. Who knows? I have no idea. But check out the website. It's on verywellmind.com. It's 11 fall date ideas to try during the coziest season. I want to thank my guests for this episode, for joining me on this episode, Andre Paradis. You can check him out on Instagram at Project Equinox, TikTok at Andre_Paradis, on Facebook, Project Equinox. Like you said, it's either one or the other. YouTube, you get both, at Project Equinox with Andre Paradis. So all one word. So if you're familiar with the ats on YouTube, just put that in. And on his website at projectequinox.net. And support our sponsors, SRE Solutions, Inc. for all your PC support, troubleshooting, network, wiring, and wireless needs, all types of stuff, virus removal, anything you can think of. Check them out at rebrand.ly/DHPSRE. And check out Adapt to Adopt for all your adoption support needs. Check them out at rebrand.ly/DHPA2A. And our partner Opus Clip for all your AI clip reduction or clip making from your longer things like this podcast. We'll turn them into short clips using Opus Clip. You can check them out at rebrand.ly/DHP Opus Clip. That's DHP Opus Clip. And if you're interested in sponsoring or partnering with Dave's Head, reach out to me on any of my social media and we can make that happen. Lastly, this season, I'm going to leave you with a quote to cap each episode. Staying in the theme of fall, I thought it'd be appropriate to find a quote about fall. And so I found a quote by Ruth Ahmed. Now, usually when I find these quotes, I find something I like. I go, hey, who is this person? Because I like to say something about them in case people have no idea who they are. Well, it turns out Ruth Ahmed is a pseudonym for the writing team of Anstey Spraggin and Demi Khan. So Anstey and Demi met while on a creative writing master's program at Manchester Metropolitan University. Now, why they decided to go with a pseudonym instead of their two names, I have no idea. But here's the quote. There is something so special in the early leaves drifting from the trees, as if we are all to be allowed a chance to peel, to refresh, to start again. And that's what fall is. Fall's the beginning of the peeling before the cooling off in the winter, and then a restarting of life and experiences and warmth that come in the spring. And so again, take this opportunity as fall approaches and these opportunities, whether it be holidays or events, to reach out to those you care about, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, associates, and set up some time to meet up with them, get together, whether it's at one particular event or day or holiday, or just because. You never know how much time you have left. You never know how many falls you have left, or they have left. So if you haven't heard from them in a while, if you miss them, reach out, touch base, set up a date. So home, relationships, and fall. All great reasons to be in love with now. That's all for this episode of Dave's Head. New episodes released on the second and fourth Friday of the month. For all things Dave's Head, check out our website at daveshead.card.co. Subscribe to watch new episodes on YouTube or Spotify video, or to listen via your preferred podcast player, go to anchor.fm/davesheadpod. Thank you for watching or listening. As always, enjoy life, because life should be fun. Take care.